2003.
Sounds about right.
2003, yes. So
Yeah,
we both went
right.
to the University of Cincinnati. You see. And I knew him through a program called Transitions, I would imagine. You were a mentor. I was a mentee. Just as a freshman.
She wasn't my.
I was not. No, I was not his mentee. Coming in the program, and he had a girlfriend the entire time that I was there at the university, and I did know his girlfriend. She was very good friends with my Why are you making that face?
I want to hear this.
She was very good friends with my RA. Actually, RIP to Shirley. It's the first time I'm saying that.
Yeah, she was. Oh man.
But yeah, so met her through. I knew his girlfriend through Shirley, and I remember her telling me. So I liked him. I guess we should start there. I did like him.
She actually wrote about me.
Okay, you're going way too.
I thought we
you're
were
just
talking
so
about
excited about that part.
I mean, I thought we were talking about.
Chill. Okay, so I did like him. I thought he was super cute, and so like we always, my best friends in college, we would always just kind of joke around with him or whatever, but still like very respectful. I have to keep saying that because I know there are a lot of people that don't know our story from college, and so some people may be wondering, but yes, very respectful always. But I did like him. I thought he was super cute. So, but I remember my RA telling me like, don't mess with him. His girlfriend will cut you. So I will never forget those words. But of course, so again, very respectful. I was there 4 years and he left. You graduated in 05, so yeah, I graduated in 06. And again, there was just strictly friends. And I can remember I don't even know what year it was, but one of the years we would always go back for homecoming, both of us. Homecoming is kind of like a big deal at UC. And I remember one year, I don't even know what year it was, but I had graduated and we would all go back to homecoming every year. And one year I realized, I don't know why, I wasn't on Facebook as much for whatever reason, and I missed a message from him asking if I was going to homecoming. And I remember being really upset. I don't know if you even thought like, dang, she didn't reply or nothing, but I remember being mad, like, man, oh, dang.
Sorry.
I remember being mad, like I would have definitely gone. I just don't know why I didn't go that year, but I remember thinking I would have gone had I known, that he was definitely going to be there. Because I hadn't seen you. Did I see you at any of the homecomings? No, because you were always deployed. So that was the one year that you were back and able to go, and I didn't make it. So again, never thought anything of it. I know for me at least, even though I liked him, there was never really, I didn't live with the thought that, oh, maybe, I wasn't thinking all these years that we're just going to end up together. Like I just really never really thought it until.
I'm just saying, you wrote about me in your book.
Until.
If you didn't hear that part, she wrote about me in her book.
Yes, so until some years later. So in college, I used to journal.
Skip that part of the
I'm
story.
going to tell it now. Okay. So in college, I used to journal. And I mean, not even just in college, I just always journaled. And so this is his favorite part of our story because it makes him gives him a big head.
No, not really.
It does.
I just liked it.
It does. But anyhow, so I used to journal. And in one of my journals in college, apparently I wrote about him. Apparently I liked him that much. And so I remember writing about him. I shouldn't say I remember. I found it years later where I had written about him in my journal, just kind of like, you just never know what may happen. God, maybe God will find a way to bring us together. I think it was in college, so you definitely still had a girlfriend. And I remember just writing even like, you just never know what may happen, So it just so happens that it came true. So to kind of go back a little bit though, yes, I wrote about you in my journal, and I did show it to him once we had gotten married, and of course he won't let that part down.
Never will.
But anyway, let's get back to kind of the timeline of our story. So when did you first come? When was your last deployment?
I came home
You came home 2012. Okay,
Yeah.
so you came home 2012. So that means that probably in 2011. So we had both kind of gotten to a point, not even really knowing. It wasn't something that we discussed because we weren't in contact all these years. So it was literally like 6 years after college. So again, yeah, you came home 2012. So yeah, 6 years later, I graduated 06. I was kind of at a point in my life where I was just like, I'm ready to kind of just, I'm not even kind of, I was just ready to move on and like finally step into a really healthy relationship and actually start actively working toward being a wife, being married. And so I think you kind of were at the same point or getting towards, maybe working towards that point.
So for me, it was really clear. I was pretty much saying, God, bring my wife, because
that's what these streets.
Well, I'm just gonna leave it at I needed my wife. So I said, God, bring my wife, and that was kind of the end of it for me.
Yeah. So again, in 2012. So yeah. So you just messaged me one day on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget that first message. My best friend at the time, she, I remember immediately telling her, like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe who messaged me. And, you know, I thought nothing of it because, again, he was deployed. And at the time I was single. That's kind of a whole nother topic. Like, this is really my first official boyfriend. But I was single. I was dating, but I wasn't in an actual relationship, you know. So I got that message and it was cool. Like, it was cool to catch up with him. He was deployed at the time. And so I literally thought, okay, you're just, I guess that first message, I didn't think much. I just thought it was nice to hear from you. So I don't know if your intentions at that time were to see what was going on, what my status was, or were you just literally saying like, hey, what's up? So
I think probably so, yeah.
Just, hey, what's up?
Hey, how's life?
Okay, so, but it turned into, you know, one day, hey, how you doing? Next day, hey, how you doing? And then it was just literally like every single day, even to the point where I remember I was at work and I was telling one of my coworkers about, we watched a UC game through, was it Facebook chat or something? It had to be, or Skype, through Skype. Yeah.
Was it Skype?
It was Skype at the time. Because I don't think Facebook really was developed yet. We're kind of old. So I think it was through Skype. We both watched basketball, UC basketball game.
She actually sat there and watched the game.
We watched the game together.
Ask her if she watches the game now, though.
I do not have time to do that. But I remember telling my coworker, and he was like, yeah, y'all are definitely getting married if you watched a game
we watched the UC
on Skype. And I'm like, no, you know, not that big a deal. Like, he's just bored. Like, he has nothing else to do. He's probably talking to thousands of other women on, you know, Facebook or whatever. I just wasn't thinking anything of it. I mean, I was actually still, he doesn't like this part, but I was still dating people, even during this time, you know. So again, it just wasn't really, it wasn't solid for me, you know. You're so far away. I'm like, you're so far away. And again, I do like you. Yes, I felt like we're building something, but it just, to me, it wasn't 100% solid yet. So then, I feel like we've maybe told this story before. He was coming back for R&R. Mm-hmm. Yes, you were coming back for R&R and you were taking a trip. And yes, you were taking a trip. Where was your trip?
The trip was to backpack through Europe a little bit. That's the trip. Predominantly Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. Okay. And you asked me to go. Mm-hmm. And she said no.
I said no because
she said no.
I did not go because my vacation time was dwindling down, and you asked me to go with like, he was going that next week, you know, and so at the time I'm like, I'm not going to pay $1,000.
It was like 3 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks. You gave me 3 weeks time to buy this over $1,000 ticket for the plane ride. And I was just, you know, I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to, if I use all my time, when you get back, I won't be able to see you because I won't have that much vacation time. So I just opted not to go. He claims that he informed me of the fact that he was going to pay, but I don't think he said it like overtly. He may have just alluded to it, which is not. No, this is his MO, is to say things in his head to current day. His MO.
Okay, I do say things in my head.
Is to say things
day, but
in
she
his.
was not listening when I told her this. Trust me, I said.
No, his MO is to say things in his head. So I think that even back then he said it in his head, because he was telling me about the train rides that he had booked. He was telling me about the hotels that he had booked, and all these things were booked. Mm-hmm. But at no point did he overtly say, "Hey, I'm going to pay for your ticket." So can't say that I would have 100% been on board still, because it was a long trip and I would have had to go and leave him early, which to me, I just didn't want to do that. So basically didn't go on the trip, and we just continued to keep in touch, through that time until he got back. And of course we were planning to meet up once he got back. And so our first date was...
We did Bible study too.
Oh, we did. We used to do Bible study. I think that's when things started to me. I'm like, okay, he actually might be a really good guy, we did. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't, again, I knew you in college, but because we weren't dating and we were literally just friends in passing, really, I think is how I would describe it. I didn't know like what your relationship was like with God. Like, it wasn't something that I knew, like, oh yeah, he reads his Bible. Like, I had no clue, so because all this time had passed. It's now 6+ years later, and we're just now reconnecting. So I just didn't know. Even though we were talking, I just don't know if we had gotten to a deep conversation about it at that point. Like, you knew that I was a Christian, and I think you kind of had an idea of where I was, but I don't think I really quite had a grasp.
I think all that came to a head probably when I came back and we were talking on the phone about it specifically. Yeah, probably. So yeah, of course we were planning to meet up with him. We were planning to meet up once he got back from his deployment, and our first date was in San Antonio? Austin, Texas. And so I remember my mom, she's like, "Are you sure you don't want to, get your own hotel? Like, don't you think that, you haven't seen him in a while?" Like, she kind of in a more so like safety way, because she's like, "This is kind of a stranger." And I'm like, "Mom, it's not a stranger. I really want to go." So I did. I went and I met up with him in Austin, and he pulled out all the stops and was, doing... I wouldn't say I pulled out all the stops.
You pulled out...
I just wanted to make sure she came to visit. I wanted to make sure she had a good time. That was it. It wasn't all the stops. It wasn't all the stops.
All the stops.
No, it wasn't.
It was enough stops.
We went to a wine bar.
Where did we stay?
The
W?
Yeah, we stayed at a nice hotel.
We stayed at the W. Did we have massages? Was that this trip?
We had a spa treatment. We went to what was that place? The Brazil Steakhouse.
Mm-hmm. All the stops. So again, first date, all the stops, and so it definitely was. It was enough, like I said. So to make this long story a little bit shorter, that first date, he definitely asked me. He definitely asked me, because he's in the military, and so this is a very big part of our story. He asked me, could I see myself with someone in the military? And so at that time, I kind of had a really finite understanding of what military life was like, and what where are you going? And what that entailed. And so my answer was just honest. We were literally sitting at a wine bar, nice little romantic evening, and he asks me the question, and I'm like, can I see myself with someone in the military? I'm like, I don't know. And it was literally like, I have to think about it. Give me a moment to actually kind of think about, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? So you have something to say?
She almost ruined it. We have been talking now in some way, shape, or form for several months. So we've been doing Bible study together, and the conversation is now very it's adult-ish, if you will. Like, hey, can you see yourself with somebody in the military? Because if you can't, I'm not wasting my time. There's no point in it. I'm not leaving the military anytime soon, so let's not even waste energy. And she says, I don't know. Let me think about it. I've been in the military now for, I think at this point, 7 years. Yeah, about 7 years. So this is not a new fact in my life. Like, I've been in the military for 7 years, so you knew when we started talking, even while I was deployed, that I'm in the military. So it was kind of weird to it was kind of weird to kind of realize that conversation, even though I think we both knew it was going to come to pass at some point, she wasn't ready to have that conversation. Right, which was kind of like, well, this is almost like wasting my time now. Then, kind of sort of
wasting your time. But I guess I get what you're saying. But I was being honest, and I remember going back to my best friend at the time and saying, like, I think I just messed it up. Like, once I had gotten back home, I'm like, I think I just messed that up. And so somehow or another, he decided that I didn't mess it up, and we continued to talk and converse, and he invited me back out. And the next date was San Antonio. So you were home. I was seeing you probably, that was in September. Okay, yeah. So that was in September. And so it's so funny because that was on September 21st. Let's kind of fast forwarding. We actually...
Don't fast forward.
Don't fast forward. So yeah, that was on September 21st. And I remember going to, he actually took me to a military ball. And so of course I'm like excited, getting my dress together. Just, I mean, could not wait to get there and go to this ball with him. And there was a couple that we sat next to at the same table, and I remember them asking, remember the wife asking me, first of all, so this, every woman, when you are with a man, especially if you haven't quite put a title on it yet, what you're thinking is, how is he going to introduce me? And so a lot of times that's how you determine. You kind of wait and see, like, how does he introduce me? This will kind of determine, like, what this is, because we hadn't really talked about it yet. So, again, we're still every day talking to each other, you know, keeping in contact, planning trips and whatnot to see each other. But we had not actually had a conversation of, like, will you be my girlfriend? Will you be my boyfriend? So, and I don't know for you at the time if you kind of thought, like, we're together. I don't know. It just kind of organically just flourished. And so... I remember when you introduced me very formally as, this is Miss Stephanie Shepard. And so I'm like, well, dang, I guess that gives me nothing.
It's a military ball, and it was a reception line. So there's a protocol. So if she's not Mrs. Shepard, you know, then you introduce her as who she is.
But even to that couple, you introduced me, it was Ed. His name is Ed. You introduced me to... even them as Miss Stephanie Shepard. So again, it gave me nothing. So, but I remember her asking, she's like, oh my gosh, you guys look so cute together. And, you know, do you think that you'll get married? I think you guys will. So I'm kind of updating her on the story. I didn't know her, but I'm just updating her on the story. And she's telling me what she thinks. And Vic is, actually her husband knew you more. So he was saying, you know, you're such a good guy and all of that. And so at the time, of course, I was giddy because I was excited about him. But again, I just didn't know where this was going. So basically,
How was I supposed to introduce her? She turned me down like 2 months before.
But you invited me back out. So at that point, I don't know. But again, we just didn't have a full title on this yet, you know, in terms of what exactly are we doing. So, so even after that ball, I think I was getting a little more, we were definitely growing an attachment at that point, but there again, we had still, even in October, there was still no talk of, is this boyfriend and girlfriend? And I remember my friend saying, like, y'all definitely go together by now. By now, like, at this point, like, that's your boyfriend. And I'm like, I don't know.
But
like,
I did ask you the question again.
You did. In San Antonio. So that was that after the ball? Okay, so after the ball, so in October, I saw you again?
No, so that was the same trip.
The same trip, okay.
So we went out, so we went to the ball.
Yep.
That was the weekend of September 21st.
Got you. And then
after the ball, we drove to San Antonio.
We drove to San Antonio, and that's where he asked me the question again, and we were at a piano bar. We used to have so much fun
before kids, man.
Kids.
Woo!
We used to have so much fun. We would just get dressed, go out, have a good time. We need to really do that again. We need to do that again.
Maybe smoke a cigar every once in a while.
I didn't smoke cigars.
I smoked every once in a while.
But yeah, we went to, in the middle of a piano bar, he asked me again, like, you know, so, and he sometimes can be really serious, like real serious, real like formal, you know, and he's like, you know, I have a question for you. I just want to ask you again, you know, can you see yourself with somebody in the military? And my response at that moment was a simple yes. And we just smiled, and it was kind of like, at that point,
I was done.
I think that was his way of asking me to be his girlfriend. So I think
yeah, probably so.
Probably.
That, yeah.
I mean, remember, I had never had a boyfriend before by choice. I had never chosen to call anyone that, and so I wasn't even sure really how people did it. Like, do you ask? Do you? I don't know. So we actually ended up backtracking our anniversary to that weekend. So it all kind of just made sense. And so in the next video, we will definitely be sharing, you know, how we really knew that, or how, at least for me, how I knew that this was real. And
she wrote about me in a journal. That's
okay, but that's not that's not what we'll be talking about in the next video. But in the next video, I will share more on how we really knew what, you know, that this was real and that we were supposed to be together.